Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. It is good to be back. Tariq Spence, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Hopefully we have a nice Master Sunday. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Pat Duffy dressed surprisingly like Greg Keagle.
I forgot my jersey, but I'll be ready to go.
I do like that jacket, though.
Yeah,
Spring fever.
Former Major League pitcher here for the opening of the baseball season, and I can say in all honesty, I do not believe that color has ever appeared on the set before. What do you call it?
This color is spring happiness is what this color is.
Very nice for the moment. Hey, look, so it is. It's opening week of the baseball season. Have we put all the labor strife enough behind it? I mean, is there anything left over from the last time when we were talking about the whole labor issues and stuff that people are going to hold against baseball as we get it underway again?
I don't think so. I think that they're fortunate enough to get started, relatively on time, only a couple of days of a delay. So I don't think that the masses will bother them at all.
So given that, what are you looking most forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward to seeing, for me, baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. We've talked about this before. Not that the beginning of the season isn't just as important as the end, but you start to see trends and, players that are hot, teams that are hot, things of that nature that happen throughout the season. So for right now, I think it's more of just, what teams are going to be the teams that, we have to watch out for. Everybody can say things on paper. Who are those teams?
Like you got one that maybe everyone's not talking about? Well, everyone says the Dodgers and the Blue Jays almost seem like a consensus favorite.
I was going to say, there's a lot of talk about the Blue Jays. How do you count out the Red Sox? I think that the American League East is going to be an exciting division. The Yankees didn't make a lot of moves, but there were a lot of people that felt that they made, with Garrett Cole and some of the moves that they did make, they get Severino back. Pitching is, at the end of the day, pitching is the name of the game. Yes, you have to score, but if you have good starting pitching, you're going to go a long way. So, I think that that's what we'll see, coming out of the spring is, what teams, like I said, what teams have bolstered their starting rotation the best.
Tariq, I think you've got the most interesting team out there.
My New York Mets are the most interesting team, and I don't believe in jinxes, but I'm starting to, especially when you got a guy with Jacob deGrom who rested most of last season, comes into this season, and has another potential, hopefully not that serious sort of delay to start of his season. Then you go get Max Scherzer on top of that big season acquisition before that whole strike thing took place or labor dispute took place, and then he has a hamstring issue, which never really goes away over the next few months or so. So this is going to be very interesting. One thing, Dom Smith is hot. I like that. Pete Alonso, another year under his belt. So hopefully the bats can stay hot. They can get their arms ready to go. But let's just say I'm not starting with the greatest confidence with the Mets, which right now in power rankings, they're number 5 in Major League Baseball as one of the top teams to contend this year.
Yeah, it depends on which ones. There's a lot of variance right now.
Yeah.
Do you believe in curses? I mean, there was a team that seemingly tries to take itself seriously the last few years, and especially under new ownership. The things, if they're gonna go wrong, they seem to go wrong for that team.
Yeah, for the I do for the Mets. But then again, I can see it for the Knicks. I can see it for all of my teams over the years that everybody. I know for the Bills in the '90s, don't want to bring up a sore spot, but you kind of felt it there too. Not so much this year. I know we'll get to that segment in a minute. But it's bizarre because I think what's interesting about this is how is a team constructed? I think what you were talking about earlier is very important in the sense that the Dodgers went out, bought the team, got a championship. The Atlanta Braves did it differently. They managed differently. They went a different route. They didn't get the big name starter. They lose Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers, ironically. But the way they played last year, it worked. I mean, they didn't have a major ace. They were able to get their bullpen together. They got into the playoffs.
I love the way they did it because they lost Acuna and everyone gave up on the team.
I was just going to say the same thing. They lost one of their best players. And, that goes a long point along the way to that whole chemistry in the clubhouse.
Yes.
And
chemistry in the front office.
Yeah, absolutely. Building a team is not as easy as just putting the best players on the field. The Yankees have tried to do that for however many years, and it failed. And then they started to bring in young talent and, realize that, you do have to rely on your farm system. And you can fill pieces, but if you don't have a good core philosophy in the organization, and I think that when you're talking curses, unfortunately, when it comes to the Mets, is it really a curse or is it, is it poor management, right? Is it a poor direction? Is it poor philosophy? Teams, you always hear it. A team that wins, they talk about, the clubhouse was this, or that you could see the team's dedication to discipline, across many sports. When you look at a champion, you will notice that champion has a certain
feel.
Yes,
Yes.
right. It has a character, right?
Yes.
There's something about them, and no matter what they are, whether they're gritty, whether they're smart, whether they're more talented, it doesn't matter. But they have something to it. It's too early in the season with baseball, So it's such a long season. We have to see how that plays out for a couple
One of
weeks.
these days, we're just going to go a half hour, start to finish, nothing but baseball with this guy. Just, I feel like I've got 10 unanswered questions. I got no time to use them. Yeah. This is the Rochester Press Box, and we're talking Buffalo Bills next. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Our Buffalo Bills segment is brought to you by Ralph Honda for 3 generations and for 50 years, celebrating as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today and find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Let's talk Buffalo Bills. Hey, Stefon Diggs. That's kind of nice.
Gotta love it. We were talking
where the money's coming from.
Well, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of questions about money in the Bills. We'll get to in a minute. But let's first start with the chemistry. I think in the last segment we talked a little bit about that. Stefon Diggs is really the glue of that team. And now a lot of people love Josh Allen and see the leadership. Remember, he's still growing into that leadership role. One of the guys who's been a professional, came here, wanted to win, got better, got the Bills a little bit better, and amped up that team with Stefon Diggs. Now, $104 million, 70 which guaranteed. That's a pretty big deal for a wide receiver, but it's a 4-year deal, and this is the window. Let's not make any mistakes about this. All the chips are right at the center here for the Buffalo Bills for the next 3 years.
What strikes me is that the Kansas City Chiefs the week before trade Tariq Hill to get 5 draft picks. I think if you look at it objectively, KC made a great deal for themselves with a guy they could only keep for probably 1 more year. They have cachet with their fans because they won a Super Bowl. I see the Chiefs, the Rams, the Buccaneers, maybe still the Patriots can make a deal like this. The Bills could not trade Stefon Diggs because you got to win first.
No doubt. You can't lose a player of that magnitude, not to mention what he brings in the clubhouse, but obviously what he brings on the field. I mean, his production, it's not something at this point that the Bills fan base could handle, but certainly the team, there's a lot to winning and a championship pedigree. And it's, there's such a fine line and the difference between being second place and being the champion. And a lot of people can get to the dance and not everybody can finish it. And so until you do, I agree. Bills are all in. They have to keep their best pieces. It would have been almost a complete start over if you lose a player of Stefon Diggs.
One of the interesting things, too, and you were talking about baseball, this will be an interesting year for the Bills. New offensive coordinator, sort of a new understanding of this has got to be it right now. Yeah. We've been to the AFC Championship game. We've been to, close to the AFC Championship game. They changed the overtime rule. There's no excuses now. Like, this is a lot. This is okay. All right, we changed the overtime rule. All right, we've been able to get to this game. We've faced Kansas City twice. Yep. We've lost to them. This is all of it right now, a 3-year window for the Bills. I hate to say this, but you don't get too many chances at this. I mean, you get a championship in the next few years, opening that new building, people are not going to care that they paid for it.
Yeah, okay, so that's 2026, and we didn't get a chance to talk last week about the new state. Is there any lingering guilt about the amount of public money that's going into this
there's
thing?
Gotta
as
be.
A sports fan?
There's got to be. I mean, you're talking, what, $850 million?
Which is the most.
And then Erie County throws in another $250 million, and it's, the Pagulas have so much money. Jerry Jones did it a different way with his own money. Like, there's this often feeling of, this sure is a lot of money. We've never spent this much before. We've never seen this much before. Now, if you see the plans for it, that stadium looks beautiful. Like, that's a beautiful stadium. And I've run across some fans that kind of wanted a dome. I don't think that really fits Western New York. But this stadium money issue is going to be something for a while, especially if they can't hit a championship.
There is one saving grace. There's a line in there, Greg, about if there's a cost overrun that the Bills going to foot it. So at least it's a static amount, the public money.
I mean, that's, I guess, an easier pill to swallow. But I think a lot of it is just simply they knew that Western New York did not want to lose this team, and they knew that they really had them over the barrel. They could get as much as they could, and I think they went right to the limit to do it. But Bills will stay. We'll have a great stadium, and hopefully we'll have a championship.
I don't want to rush to it. 2026. It's not that far away. It's going to go fast, especially if there's a couple of titles mixed in.
I hope the economy is going better, and I hope that the season ticket holders don't get tagged too much for this one on top.
Well, here's only about $1,000 for some of the better seats. That's comparatively in the NFL, the personal seat license we're talking about.
Which is also the price of gas right now.
Our Buffalo Bills segment was brought to you by Ralph Honda, and Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Everyone wants to get away. Well, it's never too late to plan ahead. Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. This week's podcast, Cozy Cottage Getaways. And I'm giving away some travel books. Go to thegetawayguy.com.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Keagle Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. This segment, Like It or Not, brought to you by Keagle Brothers Law. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Keagle Brothers Law today. Like it or not, the new system of calling pitches between catchers and pitchers with the buttons on the glove, and welcome to high tech.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it fits this generation, right? And it looks exactly like a joystick. We were talking about it earlier about how many buttons were on there. And I think, as players and certainly, the battery, the pitcher and catcher get used to using this, it will enhance the game. It will speed up the game because you're not going to have as many shakeoffs. Typically when you see guys throwing all kinds of fingers down between their legs, what they're just trying to do is keep some element of surprise still between pitcher catcher. And if you can do that and also in that sense relay it to your defense, because defense needs to know, it's a breaking ball coming, it's going to help, where I shift, not so much, how far I move, but which way do I lean? Do I know that the guy might roll over this pitch, so I got to be ready to cover the hole, whatever it might be. I think that will help it tremendously, but until it plays out, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a good thing.
It gives players new ways to steal sides. We were talking about nuanced things in baseball earlier. I said, as much as that makes total sense, and anyone that says something against it is just being a stick in the mud. Well, you're still losing something.
You are, but stealing signs, we love it when the guy's on second base. We don't love it when the guy's in the outfield. You know what I mean? Like, we don't like it when the guy's in the bullpen. It's bizarre. I like the technology updates. Baseball's doing a couple different things that I like to see. But this is just something new and maybe attracts a different generation of baseball players so that there are ways to get information to one another without having someone try to figure out, I know what he's saying, or covering up their mouths.
Yeah. Like it or not, the NCAA basketball champions, the Kansas Jayhawks.
Whether you like
the Kansas City Jayhawks.
Well, that's okay. Whether you like the way it ended or not, the check that it was a blue blood program. It wasn't number one. It wasn't Kansas. It wasn't Duke. It wasn't North Carolina. It was fun to see it play out, and the greatest comeback I've ever seen before. I literally thought at halftime, I'm like, all North Carolina's got to do is be able to score, just as well as they did in the first half, the second half, and then here comes Kansas all the way back until the final moments. It played out great. We didn't get a final shot, but we got a great tournament with teams literally 15 seed went to the Elite Eight. This doesn't happen anymore. I love the fact that still the cream rises to the top, but there are still a number of teams out there that can surprise you. Great tournament.
I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen anyone talk about the fact that the left side basket won the game by 33 points. North Carolina won it by 15 in the first half. Kansas going in the same direction, won it by 18. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
There is a thing called depth perception when you're shooting in these sort of arenas that people don't understand on certain ends of courts. You might not
That's a serious number. I mean, there might really be something to that.
No, there is. Ask anybody who shoots.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's actually a great point. I'd be curious to wonder what it looked like as an athlete, right? You go out there, would it be such a difference? I mean, it has to be something to the depth perception or the, just in general, that basket. I don't think the basket was any lighter, but even sometimes they're softer, you know what I mean?
The question of the floor came up too this week.
Yeah.
So
I did not think I was going to get any support from either one of you guys. You're really surprising.
No,
Like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
No. The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
Unfinished Business is brought to you by Greg the Roofer. Greg will meet or beat any competitor's price and can finance you with zero down. Call today or visit gregtheroofer.com. Better roof, better price. Better call Greg today.
Thanks for watching and joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. It's time for Unfinished Business. Let's start with Tariq.
All right, for folks out there that watch baseball, watch football, watch basketball, watch any sport, the sport doesn't end for the athlete the way it always should end for the athlete or for the coach. Coach K wanted to win a national championship, just didn't happen. That's the way it ended. For a lot of people like LeBron James, he was not able to make the playoffs or even the play-in game for a great player like that who was this close to the scoring title. For a number of different athletes that play a sport, it doesn't end the way you always wanted to end. Yet, you still go out there, play hard as you want to, and get the best you can, because you never know when your last game might really be your last game.
When I retired from baseball, I wondered if I would stay a fan of the game or I would be loyal to the teams that were loyal to me. As technology comes and it changes baseball, I realized that I am truly a fan of the game. That it is the pureness of a 5-year-old playing catch with his father. The joy of the crack of the bat when you actually hit a ball good. We recently had tryouts. I watched some 13-year-old boys trying out, and the genuine nerves and excitement when they had success or when they failed. The lessons that can be taught through baseball about life are just immeasurable. And I think, my greatest, I don't want to call it achievement, but to me, the proudest moment about getting a chance to play baseball was the fact that there were young boys and girls that watched me play, that were excited to see us play, to have been one of the members of a small group of a fraternity. As I said, that's probably, the most exciting part about it. But the technology and the change and the way that the game has changed has truly brought me back to the most basic part of the love of the game. Baseball is still America's pastime, in my opinion.
And it's okay to root for the Tigers, Greg. People leave Rochester, but Rochester doesn't leave them. You may remember Nate Rowan as a frequent guest here on the Rochester Press Box. He was the media relations director with the Red Wings. PR guys are generally horrible guests. They're cautious to the point of being afraid to offend someone. It doesn't work here. Just ask these guys. But Rowan was generally forthcoming, which made him surprisingly good. Nate came to Rochester from Farmington, Minnesota, 7 years ago after a career as a baseball gypsy and a professional intern. You have to love the work he does to do it. The position with the Red Wings was, at age 28, his first full-time job, and Rochester became a second home. He dug right in. Rowan was a fixture at Section 5 baseball and football games, RIT hockey, Challenger baseball, and Webster. He learned how to pronounce Honeoye Falls Lima. I like being involved and counted on, he says. Things that he came to count on: the Genesee Brewhouse, Letchworth State Park, and Easter dinners at Dave Welker's, because he only made it to Minnesota for Christmas. If this were as good as it got, Rowan said he was okay with it. He liked it here. He wasn't looking for another job. It came to him, and it's a good one. Rowan is now the Senior Director of Baseball Operations for the Baltimore Orioles. Nothing small town about that. It's almost like being in the major leagues. The Baltimore Orioles, get it? There isn't anything particularly unusual about Nate's story, but it is a nice reminder from someone who came from the outside that we have it pretty good here sometimes. People leave Rochester, he said, but Rochester does not leave them. Yeah, he's a good guy. Kind of wish him well as he goes off and leaves us forever.
We have people for a certain amount of time. We need to enjoy it, enjoy life, and let them go where they need to go.
Yeah, and Greg, thanks for being here again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Feel free to wear that color
I was just
anytime.
next time maybe I'll have a jersey in this color.
Well, now you've set the bar. When we see you next, we're really going to
That's right.
be
Okay,
anxious.
then I'll come. It's Hickey Freeman, locally made.
Oh.
Hey, thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box, and we'll see you again next week.